other.
Well, the big question right now is whether or not power has been restored following the national grid shutdown yesterday. The progress of electricity distribution, we hear, is currently moving slowly, with the Shiroro substation partly restored to supply power to the Katampe substation. The Transmission Company of Nigeria had informed that the nationwide blackout experienced yesterday was caused by Organised Labour's planned strike, leading to the shutdown of the national grid. Even though the Nigerian Labour Congress hasn't ended the strike, progress in restoring the grid has been slow. Only Shiroro hydropower is gradually increasing its output to supply the transmission lines. We're getting some feedback from some parts of Abuja that power has been restored. Perhaps you also want to share your current situation with us. You can tag at TVC News On and also mention at Nifemi Oguntoye on X, formerly Twitter. Joining the conversation right now is the Secretary General of the Trade Union Congress, Nuhu Toro, and also Human Resource Consultant, Femi Mokikan. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on the program. Let's begin with the comrade. The SGF last night did say that the meeting with Labour was realistic and productive. What do you make of the new agreement signed yesterday?
Well, for us, the new agreement, in our opinion, suggests that government has been rekicked. We will only pray that they come to negotiations with good faith and move away from their historical way of negotiating. If we had negotiated all along, perhaps we would have put this behind us and were compelled because the government weren't talking. That was why the strike action took place. And we are also excited that the strike, gave birth to what we have now. It was as a result of the strike that the government is ready now. And if you look at the understanding, every blessed day, from now till the 1 week time space we've given, we'll be negotiating until a new minimum wage sets in for Nigerian workers. So this is good. It's really a good omen. We just urge them and pray that they will continue in that light.
Also joining this conversation is the President National Union of Electricity Employees. We're going to talk to him shortly, but let's go to Mr. Mokikan. You were part of the employers team for the 2010 tripartite negotiation that fixed the 18,000 minimum wage. Help us understand what happens behind the doors. You heard the comrade say part of the agreement is that conversation will continue for the next 7 days. Are we expected to see a new figure emerge after 1 week?
Thank you very much for having me on this program. Yes, it is true. I was on the employers team on the 2010 negotiation that fixed the 18,000 minimum wage. Of course, the situation at that time and what we have on ground today, they are miles apart. Notwithstanding, the processes remain the same. Negotiation process remains the same. Yes, we can tinker with TTR and there once in a while, but the basic principles remain the same. I'm happy that the comrade that spoke earlier used one expression, negotiation in good faith. I think what is lacking, there are 3 parties to this negotiation. There's the government, the labor, and the private sector. For now, nobody is hearing so much anything from the private sector because the private sector has a culture built over the years where we negotiate and we do not hear any noise outside as regards our negotiation. Sadly, when it comes to the public sector negotiation, that is where this collaboration shows up. And the main reason behind it is because the 2 other parties, they come to this negotiation table in bad faith. What do I mean? Let me start with labor. You're asking for 615,000 naira. But straight away, the other party will look at you and say, is this team serious about this figure at all? we must be clear in our minds. What we are negotiating is not living wage. It is minimum wage, below which no employer beyond a certain threshold must pay. For employers who don't have as many as those employees that are captured in the scope, they can afford not to pay. The ones who are within the scope of coverage of that act, you cannot pay less than that minimum. And of course, we all know that in the private sector, once the minimum is set, on an annual basis, you get to annual increments based on performance. So it's not about salary adjustment, salary award, or salary, not at all. It's about the minimum wage. And because the two parties don't come to the table with in good faith, you run into this kind of crisis. 650,000 naira, for God's sake. I'm sure Labour itself knows that it is unrealistic. And I was excited when I heard the president of TUC saying the other day on TV. Even now at 494, we know that it is unrealistic. The government should move. Look at where government is coming from. 40,000 naira, 60,000 naira. The other party is still on 494,000 naira. Please ask me, how do two parties want to move in this kind of situation? So to have started from the extremes that both parties started from, I think it's an issue. Not only that.
Do you think that given this large gap between the two figures, that they will be able to meet at the middle within 7 days?
At the end of the day, an agreement has to be reached. Whatever that middle is, agreement has to be reached. And then we need to worry about the consequences of the agreement. Is Labour looking for an agreement which will only be implemented by one party to the agreement? What do I mean? At the government level, we have federal government as an employer of labor and also as a sovereign state. We also have state governments. If you do your survey, there are some states in Nigeria today that are still having difficulty paying the 30,000 naira that we agreed years back, 2019. As of today, they are not paying the 30,000 naira. The argument of whether they have the resources or not is a different thing. And I don't want to go into that right away.
I hear you, Mr. Mokikan. Let me bring Mr. Adeyeye into the conversation very quickly. He's the President, National Union of Electricity Employees. Mr. Adeyeye, one of the agitations of Labour prior to the nationwide strike is the new electricity tariff. That wasn't mentioned in this new agreement. What's your union position on this?
Oh, thank you. As regard the increase of electricity tariff and the agreement reached, the agreement has not been reached. Let me put it that way. It was just a resolution reached that there should be a work within 7 days to come back and give us the total agreement on the resolution. But on that regard, if you look at the communique from the two in-house union, the TUC and NLC, that is the second page of that communique, that our demand is the tariff hike must be reversed to status quo. And I know the capable hands that are in there negotiating on this matter knows how to go about it. I'm very sure the government is much aware about our demand on this particular issue on tariff hike, which is very, very germane at this present economic situation in Nigeria. We have our reasons why we are calling for this. It is just for us to go to a round table and say, how can we arrive at a better price on this particular product we are talking about? We are not saying this product should be static. We are not saying that should not be increase in tariff. But what we are saying is, what can we do to normalize, to balance the situation in between the masses and even the customers that are using this
And
product?
we hear you very clearly, Mr. Adeyeye, particularly the demands of Labour. The opposition has been the way and manner Labour has gone about it. For instance, there was an outcry yesterday following the shutdown of the national grid. Many small businesses, hospitals, and majority of Nigerians were badly affected. And TCN said it was the handiwork of your union members. What informed this decision? Is it even legal to have shut down the national grid?
That is a, let me tell you that that allegation is a false allegation. By saying our union shut down the national grid, there was nothing like that. Look at the hour that Nigeria lost the national grid. And look at the hour we joined the strike. It was early in the morning of 3rd June, as directed by the leadership of the NLC and the TUC. What hour does the national grid went up? Where did they, in fact, I want people to look at this scenario. Withdrawal of services is a simple language. We withdraw a member from services, simple as ABC, and there was nobody to man the equipment. And naturally, when you don't say anything to man you, then it goes naturally. So for somebody claiming that deliberately or intentionally we shut down the power, I think they should make their further research or further investigation about that. It's a wrong claim, and will not take that.
The claim went ahead to even say that the members of your union obstructed the recovery of the grid. But when should we be expecting full restoration of power? Because hours after the decision of Labour to suspend the strike, many Nigerians still do not have access to power.
Let me tell you, the strike has been suspended and the grid is back. But you should not expect all Nigerians to have the power. Before the grid went off, do you have all Nigeria experiencing the power? That is the question I should ask. Some people on band E cannot have power even in the next 4 days.
But there are Nigerians on band A, B, C, and D. I'm wondering why you went all the way to E. If you follow the outcry online, many Nigerians have been badly affected, especially small business owners.
That has been our claim right from time, that banning electricity is a scam. And we are objecting this, and we said it clearly to Nigerians, that it is not part of our profession, saying you are banning electricity to one particular Nigerian and another part of a set of Nigerian. I don't understand. Electricity travels under the seconds, and it has to reach the last person that is using it. So what is the meaning of banning it? Are you isolating from a point to a point? We don't get it. That's what I'm telling you, that before the national grid went off, before we lost national grid, who and who is even experiencing electricity supply in Nigeria. So at the moment, those who are not experiencing it at that time should not be expecting that they will see it at the moment now. But as I have confirmed, the grid is back, and people have confirmed it. As long as they have suspended the strike, people have gone back to their places of duty.
Well, I was getting the power supply, and I'm sure there are many viewers also who were getting the power supply. If no one was getting the power supply, no one would have been complaining when the national...
Do solemnly swear.
Thanks for staying with us, everyone. There's a continuous conversation ongoing with the tripartite committee. We understand that will happen for 7 days, and we expect to see a new minimum wage emerge afterwards. Secretary, absolutely. We'll have a tripartite conversation right now. Secretary General of the TUC, Nuhu Toro, is here. Human Resource Consultant Femi Mokikan, who was part of the tripartite committee that deliberated on the 18,000 naira minimum wage in 2010, is also here. Adebi Adeyeye is the President, National Union of Electricity Employees. Gentlemen, thank you so much for staying the course on the program. Comrade Toro, I was asking you earlier that it does seem that Labour has its mind fixed on the figure. What happens if government increases its figure, but it doesn't, align with the expectation of organized labor in the next 7 days?
Well, that is your opinion, and I disagree in total. We don't have any fixation. In negotiations, you don't go with fixation. Yes, you can present a demand, and it is in the course of negotiations with conviction that at the end of the day, you arrive at a conclusion. So I want to disabuse the mind of Nigerians and our viewers that we have a fixation.
So the mind of Labour is not fixed on the 495,000, right? That's what you're saying?
We don't have a fixation. We are flexible. So if you can convince us that 400,000 naira can sustain a man, his wife, and 4 children in a month, fine, we'll grab it. But if you feel otherwise, they need to convince us with empirical data that X amount is what is required to sustain a man, his wife, and 4 children in a month. If that is anything to go by, or that is placed on the table, certainly Labour are sensible people. I mean, who reason. So we suggest that we are not, we don't have any fixation as far as this negotiation is ongoing. We have good faith and we have free mind. We are flexible.
Mr. Mokikan, it seems you have gotten some clarity as to your submission earlier. Labour is saying, well, our mind isn't fixed on 495 after all. Just, explain to us better how this this figure you're bringing to the table will work. But there's a lot of conversation about what's happening in Angola, where the new minimum wage has now been increased to $120 to kickstart on the 1st of June. They say Nigeria is a bigger oil producer than that country, and we should be able to pay at least between 250 and 280. What figure do you have in mind if you were on this negotiating table?
You see, the issue really is not, just as you said, not about the figures. I think the principle is very key. Are we negotiating minimum wage, or we are negotiating living wage? Living wage here, you can be talking about what the kind of figures we are talking about. And every time I see Nigerians talk about dollars relative to what we are earning, I always advise them, please go to America where they earn dollars. Let them give you multiples of the dollars you are talking about and see whether you can build a house. Here in Nigeria, whatever it is your salary is, somehow, an average Nigerian still gets to build a house. You want to buy tomato, you will say it is dollar. You want to do this, you convert it to dollar. If you go out and you want to go and eat, and you convert the dollar you spend in feeding, you convert it to naira. Believe me, you will fast for all of the days you will be out there before you return to Nigeria. So I think we need to learn to look at our own environment and relate more with what exists in our environment. Yes, Angola may decide to be doing what they are doing right there. Again, you look at number. For instance, if I'm hiring just 10 people and you are hiring 1,000 people, the salary I pay my staff, 85 times your own per individual, at the end of the day, my wage bill will still be much, much higher because of the number. All of these things are very key. Not only that, please bear in mind that employers of labor in Nigeria, they have a lot of things they call non-payroll costs. Non-payroll costs mean that the company is bearing these costs on your behalf. Educa is a good example. Transport is a good example. Many companies provide buses for their employees, and they still subsidize with transport allowance. All of these things should be taken into consideration in talking of the figure that we may want to be talking about.
Mr. Adeyeye, Labour is asking for... Yes.
If we agree a figure and we say, oh, we have signed an agreement, following week we go into the field, the private sector says we cannot pay. State government says we cannot pay. We have shifted the crisis point from the federal level.
Absolutely.
To the state,
I get you. Level. I get you clearly, and we all understand that making the law is one. The implementation is an entirely different ballgame from what we've seen with the 30,000, the previous minimum wage. But Mr. Adeyeye...
And the other point, please, is
yes.
This is the first time I'm seeing that we are negotiating, and the general public gets to know the movement from point to point. What typically should happen is the negotiation team that will know all the information about the various processes. Today, the three parties are in the negotiation room. Before they finish, it's already in the press.
I hear you, Mr. Mokikan. I need to get others' opinions because we have less than a minute to leave. Mr. Adeyeye, do you think that these three parties will be able to reach a nexus? Because Labour wants a living wage. Federal government is calling it minimum wage. And on the part of governors, I think they are saying what we can do is an affordable wage, something we can afford. What's your thoughts on this quickly?
Yeah, I believe the party are up to the task to make Nigeria smile. I know the laborers will not come back home with what we are not expecting. Like other speakers have said earlier, what figure are we talking about? 400 and something thousand naira? Look at the economy. What does this thing stand for? And when you look at even Nigeria with what we are operating presently as regards the economy,
well,
we have to be considerate too. So the party, so all of them are competent enough and they know what is happening at the moment in Nigeria and will come back with a very, very good result.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining this conversation. Nuhu Toro is Secretary General of the TUC, Adebi Adeyeye, President, National Union of Electricity Employees, and Femi Mokikan, who is Human Resource Consultant. Good to have you on the program. That's the show, everyone. Thank you so much for being a part of it. You can watch it again at midnight and at 6 a.m. tomorrow. I am Nifemi Oguntoye.